The left continues to take a page out of the Hannibal Lecter School of Political Science as they continue to devour their own flesh. Today is the Arch Advocate podcast for Monday. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for hitting subscribe. If you have not hit subscribe to this podcast yet, would you please do so now? Thank you very much. I'm trying to get big, man. I'm trying to get famous. I want to be more famous than an internet cat named Little Bub. Little Bub is a cat that has Down syndrome. And that cat is more famous than me. This is unacceptable, people. Hit subscribe. Before we get into today's show, I'm going to read you today's devotion for February 25th. And it reads, "Rest in my presence, allowing me to take charge of this day. Do not bolt into the day like a racehorse suddenly released. Instead, walk purposefully with me, letting me direct your course one step at a time. Thank me for each blessing along the way. This brings joy both to you and me. A grateful heart protects you from negative thinking. Thankfulness enables you to see the abundance I shower upon you daily. Your prayers and petitions are winged into heaven's throne, where they are permeated with thanksgiving. In everything give thanks, for this is my will for you." It is the will of God for you to be thankful. And anything that is the will of God for you is good. And this is very specific in Scripture. Be thankful. Be grateful. Now, as we talk about what's going on in the world today, it's not to point out that the world is a broken and fallen place. It is not that. As a matter of fact, if it was that, that would by itself be demonic. It would be an act of demonic wizardry if I sat here and just pointed out, like, look at all of the bad things in life. Look at Jussie Smollett. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Look. I mean, ISIS brides and all this stuff. The thing is we all have to stay focused on the light, and it's not easy to do that. There is a constant barrage of darkness. There is a scheme in place to keep us all permanently distracted, but only distracted long enough until the next distraction is fabricated. That is demonic. The reason why you think more about Jussie Smollett than you do the fact that there was a terrorist training camp, a Muslim terrorist training camp happening in New Mexico, right? The reason why you think more about Jussie Smollett than you do about the Benghazi attack. The reason why you think more about Jussie Smollett than you do the fact that we engaged in a war in Iraq based on weapons of mass destruction that weren't there. The reason why is because there is a demonic plot in place to keep you constantly distracted. And that the shoveling of the coal into your distraction is mainstream media. It is the shovel. And we all have to be aware of that. So yes, we're going to be taking a look at the circumstances, but keep in mind that the whole point of it all is to keep us all focused on the light that we can see through it. Now, moving on. Jussie Smollett decides that he's going to announce that he has a drug problem. Now, this was shortly after he announced to his co-workers that he swore to God that he didn't do it. Checkmate, Jussie Smollett. That only works if you also cross your heart and hope to die. If you miss any one of those three ingredients, when you swear to God, you have to swear to God, cross your heart, hope to die. You didn't do the other two things, and that's why you're busted now. Everybody knows that. All right? Oh, Your Honor, I didn't mail myself a terrorist letter. I didn't write a check to 2 Nigerian dudes for $3,500 to beat me up. I didn't do that. I swear to God I didn't do that. Oh, Mr. Smollett, I didn't know you were going to pull out the big guns. Clearly, this man is innocent. Let him go. Let my people go. Listen, the thing that you have to see here, and this is beautiful. And by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, would you please hit subscribe? You see that down there? I have less than 300 subscribers. Would you please hit subscribe? I want to be more famous than PewDiePie, Bub, Little Bub, the internet cat, a girl wearing yoga pants, right? There's girls that are famous and all they do is they wear yoga pants. and I get lots of money for that. And I have less than 300. I'm over here dropping two truth bombs, people. Would you please hit subscribe? And also, if you enjoy podcasts, that's it's like a YouTube show, only it's all audio. This is actually a podcast. And what you're seeing right now is just a video rendition of it. So if you like podcasts and you would like to subscribe to my daily podcast, 5 days a week, weekdays, go downstairs there into the comments, into the About section, and there's a link to LinkedIn. I'm sorry, not LinkedIn, but SoundCloud, and there's iTunes, and then there's the one to Libsyn, and there, you can also find it on Spotify. I don't have the links to that, and there's a reason for that, which I won't get into, but it's there on Spotify. It's everywhere. So if you like listening to podcasts, go ahead, go down there, click on the link below, and hit subscribe. Right? Just hit subscribe. Speak truth. Whatever you do, speak truth into this darkness, and the light shall break forth. Please hit subscribe, please hit like, please hit share, tell your friends about it. That's how it all works. Now moving on, Jussie Smollett. The thing that you have to see here is that these people will never apologize. And the people who apologize on their behalf, they won't apologize either. If you haven't noticed this, that's what's happening. There was a guy a few years ago named Bernie Madoff, who ironically, or coincidentally, I don't know which one, his last name is Madoff, and he made off with billions of other people's dollars. Now he's in prison. Now, if you were to go to Bernie Madoff right now and say, "Are you sorry for what you did?" He'd say, "Sorry, I was doing those people a favor." He literally said that, and I'm misquoting, but he said that in an interview recently. He said, no, you guys have it all wrong. I'm the good guy here. Those rich, entitled bastards, they had it coming. Because they were weak and they fell for my lies, they deserved to be stolen from. And therefore, they are bad people, and I'm the good guy. I was doing good. Do you understand that? Even though our society pulled Bernie Madoff aside, and we arrested him, and we gathered a group of our peers together and judged him, and a judge sat there and presided over the whole thing, and he judged him. Our entire way of life, our entire civilization sat Bernie Madoff down and said, "You, sir, have done a horrible evil to your fellow citizens." So even with that, even with all of the proof that one would need to know that they in fact did screw up, the guy still will not apologize. You think that you're ever going to see an apology from Jim Acosta? Do you think you will ever see an apology from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who just chased off Amazon and cost her neighborhood all those jobs? You think she's ever going to apologize? No, she won't. And if you sit there and stew, when you look at Jussie Smollett and you just look at him and you think, like, man, most of this could go away if you just admitted what you did and showed some remorse. The judge will go easier on you. The city of Chicago will go easier on you. Everything would be so much easier if you just said, you know what? I just got way too carried away with my hatred, Donald Trump, and the people who vote for him. And I did this horrible thing. I see the error of my ways. I'm sorry. No, that's never going to happen. It never will. These people never do that. You want to know why? Because confession is a Christian practice. It's what Christian people do. People who love Jesus Christ, they come up and they say, you know what? Man, I really messed up here, everybody, and I am sorry. And I'm going to spend time praying and reading the Holy Scriptures and really taking this before my God in hopes that He cures me of this disgusting illness. Jussie Smollett will not do that. What he will do is say, first he goes on and says, Donald Trump supporters attacked me, poured bleach on me, called me the N-word, put a noose around my neck. He did that in a time where our nation is already on the verge of civil war. Tensions are so high right now that people are literally being killed. And it's very close to where people rise up and they decide to start taking out, politicians and taking out people that they perceive to be their enemy. on a national scale, we are teetering on the edge of race wars and civil war and class war and all of this political war. We're teetering on the edge of this, and this guy decides, I want to be in the spotlight. I want to be in that bright, hot spotlight for as long as I can take it. I think I'm going to do something that could literally push the nation over the edge into a race war. He very possibly could be, not in a provable way, but he could very possibly be responsible for somebody's death. There could be a group like the Black Hebrews who hate everybody. They're so full of self-hatred that they just hate everybody and everything. You think that this kind of thing could push those people into just going out and murdering some white people? They would see that report from Jussie Smollett and think, all right, I guess the war is on, and go out and just start killing people. This guy did something that put our nation in peril. You say, well, what about that girl down in Texas? The girl down in Texas that falsely claimed that 3 black dudes raped her, she's not a star. She doesn't get to be on TV. She doesn't have the social power to push. And that's exactly what this guy did. You think he's going to apologize? No. First he made up the lie, and the cops called him out and said, let me see your phone. This is where I even found out about this. I didn't find out about the Jussie Smollett thing until there were reports coming out that he wouldn't give up his phone to the police. I'm like, wouldn't give up his phone to police? What's going on here? And I read into it. It's like, oh, this guy is he's an actor that I've never heard of. Oh, the show Empire with that one, the main guy that I've seen. Like, I like that guy. I've seen him in some other things. He seems like a good dude. But I've been aware of Empire. I've just never seen it. I never heard of this story until the report came out that he was refusing to give up his phone. And then I started paying attention. That's how little I know about this guy. But evidently, there's millions of people who follow him and like him. And he hangs out with Barack Obama. No coincidence there, by the way. There are no such thing as coincidences. And then this guy, he doubles down and he goes back on TV and says, well, this is the thing. If I was Muslim or whatever, whatever it was he said. He kept doubling down. And then he gets arrested because they found the check that he wrote to the guys. And they linked him. They linked him to the letter that he had sent himself that had crushed up aspirin in it. Right? This guy. Now again, he's got a right to a fair trial. But the fact is, dude, the guy is. They've got him dead to rights. The 2 people that beat him up are saying, like, yeah, we beat him up. Why wouldn't we? He paid us to do that. We're actors, and he's an actor. He paid us to act. We have a check here. Like, we didn't know, or whatever it is that they're saying. Dead to rights, they've got this guy. What does he do? He gets out of jail, goes immediately to work and says, I swear to God. It's like, okay, well, what God? What God are you serving that you're swearing to? Is it the God of the Christian? Is it the God of the Christian? Jussie, which, by the way, thanks a lot, Fleckus. By the way, check out the latest Fleckus talks. Thanks a lot, Fleckus, for pointing out that perhaps the right way to pronounce it is called Juicy. Oh, God. A fag named Juicy? Oh, no. And then he goes on and says, I swear to God, well, what God? Is it the God of the Christian people who voted for Donald Trump? Clearly, it's not that God. Clearly, you hate the Christians so much because it's the Christians that put Donald Trump into office. Clearly, you hate that God. So when you say swear to God, Juicy, which God are you referring to? And then he doubles down once again and says, well, you know how gay people like to do a lot of crystal methamphetamine? Spoiler alert, everybody, I've got a drug problem because I'm gay and black. I've got a drug problem. So once again, not your fault, Juicy. It's the drugs' fault. It's the patriarchy. It's white men. It's Jesus Christ. It's everybody's fault but mine. And this will not end. It will never end. You think Jussie Smollett is going to come out and say, you know what, everybody, I'm sorry I offended you Christians. I'm sorry I offended you conservatives. I'm very sorry. I didn't realize at the time that I could be starting a race war. You think that's ever going to come out of his mouth? If you think so, go check out Bernie Sanders. I'm sorry, not the other evil Bernie. Bernie Madoff. Go check out Bernie Madoff and see if you can get an apology out of that guy. He's like, no, you guys don't understand. I did the world a favor by stealing from those people. MSNBC, CNN, everybody, they're all on TV right now saying, no, this guy did us a favor. He showed us how big of a problem this was, that he cared so much to go fabricate this story that almost pushed us into a race where they'll tell you that they believe that he did the world a favor by doing this. Can you see the light? That the darkness is being exposed. Praise God for that. Praise God that the darkness is being exposed and we can see these people for who they really are. Evil, disgusting, wretched people who would gladly see you die, who would gladly see innocent people go to jail, go to prison for beating up old poor Jussie Smollett. That's who that guy is, and that's who his ilk are. No offense to the ilk of Vox Day. Anyways, moving on. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is back in the news, once again displaying her disgust for the American people and the American way. She goes on, well, let me get to this tweet in just a second. Listen, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button. You see down there, see how I have less than 300 subscribers, or maybe more now that this video's up. But you see how I have right around 300 subscribers? I'm over here dropping truth bombs, and Lil Bub the cat, the Down syndrome cat, is still more famous than me. It's unacceptable, people. Go down there and hit subscribe. If you like podcasts, not on YouTube, but like a full audio show, my show's 5 days a week. Go down, find a link, iTunes, SoundCloud, whatever. Click on that. You can listen to the show every day. And please hit subscribe and please hit share on your social media. Get the word out, man. This is how it all happens. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has finally said, let me read this to you here. Says, yep, if you don't like the Green New Deal, then come up with your own ambitious, on-scale proposal to address the global climate crisis. Until then, we're in charge, and you're just shouting from the cheap seats. Now, this is beautiful because this is who these people really are. Beware of people who lust for power, right? There's power that you gain by earning it, right? When you work really hard, then you have the authority to call yourself an expert in something, right? Like if you're a welder or a mathematician or a carpenter or a biochemist or whatever, like when you work really hard, you gain authority by accomplishing things, right? But the thing that you desire is not power itself. The thing is the mastery of that thing. But when you seek power so that you may be the master, that's profane. That's demonic. And finally, this woman has well, not, I shouldn't say finally, because it's always been there. She's always been peeling back the mask to see the demon behind it. She doesn't want to help Americans. She wants power. And that's who politicians truly are. Not all of them, right? There's some good ones out there. I think Trey Gowdy isn't a guy like that. I think there's a number of them out there, but for the most part, they just want power and they don't care how they get it. We live in a constitutional republic where it is by the people. Our government is by the people and for the people. And she's talking about, until then, we're in charge. You mean we? What do you mean we? No, the American people are in charge. We've put you there and we can take you out. The American people are in charge, but that's not what she's saying. We're in charge. You're just talking from the cheap seats because you're a little person who doesn't have any power. I have power. F you. That's who this lady is. And by the way, the context of this, well, in some of her other tweets, she was talking about, I'm going to pay my staffers $52,000 a year because I'm a good person. It's like, whoa. Where are you going to get the money to pay them that? Oh, well, I have a budget that I'm given from the federal government. Oh, okay, where do they get their money from? Oh, they get it from the Federal Reserve. Okay, where do they get their money from? You see, dum-dum, the money comes from the American taxpayer. That's our money. So when you're over there spending my money and trying to make it sound like you're the good person, no, actually, I'm the good person. I'm the one paying them. I'm the one paying your staffers, occasionally coherent. I'm paying your staffers. My listeners are paying your staffers. That's who's paying your staffers. And you're saying that I'm a bad person? And you're the good person while you're taking my money and giving it to your staffers. This is the face of who these people are, and now we can see it more clearly. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ruins a deal with Amazon. Now, keep in mind, I've got no love for Amazon. I hate Jeff Bezos. I think he's a liberal lefty piece of garbage as well. But again, like, the left can't help but cannibalize themselves. They can't stop eating. They just nom, 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 nom. AOC kicks out Amazon, costs her neighborhood all these jobs. And guess what? No matter what happens, even the most staunch AOC fan is going to look at that and say, now wait a minute here. That just sounds like a spin job. There's so many different ways that people are coming out and say, oh, well, they would have given those good jobs to people from other places who would have moved here so that they can work there. It's like, okay, well, where is your proof of that? That's speculation. You have no proof of that. Oh, well, they were going to do this and they were going to do this. Like, okay, well, where's your proof? Even the most staunch supporter in her district is going to be looking at the situation like, wait a minute here. You haven't brought any jobs into our neighborhood. Somebody came to you and said, we want to bring jobs into your neighborhood. We believe in what you're doing so much. We want to put one of our headquarters right in the middle of your town. Everybody's going to get well. And she said, no, because you're a capitalist pig. It's like, no, that's Jeff Bezos. He's one of you, lady. And you just cannibalized yourself. And Dianne Feinstein, senator from California, chimed in on the Green New Deal. Oh boy, this was a whopper. Did you guys see this? So she comes in and destroy. This is the whole thing. Like, this is why we have phrases like a house divided cannot stand. The Democrats are a house divided because they're not Democrats. They're Democrats, they're liberals, and they're leftists, and they're progressives. And none of those people, it's just like the intersectional politics thing where it's like, where you have, there's black people and they're victims, right? And then there's trans people and they're victims. And then there's black trans people and they get the biggest victim card of them all. And then there's black trans kid, gay, whatever. And when you set yourself up like that, it's like you're going to have intersectional fighting. You're going to have groups of people struggling for more power if they believe that the power itself is victimhood. And that's why those people are devouring themselves. The same thing is going on in the demonic Democrats. Is that it's not just Democrats anymore. They've got at least 4 different categories of people and they all hate one another. And so they're just devouring themselves. So Dianne Feinstein, who, again, look at her face. You just look at pictures of her. That's what a demon-possessed person looks like. That's what a face looks like when it's done nothing its whole life except for thirst and lust after power. And what does she do? She comes in and craps all over Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, along with many other Democrats. And it's beautiful to behold because, again, you have to be able to see the light through it all. Because what's happening right now is that the darkness is doing what darkness can only do. And that's self-destruct. And that's what's happening right now. Praise Jesus. Oh, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There's new news that she might have committed campaign finance fraud. Now, look, this is something that we have to keep a very close eye on because there's a number of factors that kind of tie into this. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe. Look down there. I have somewhere around 300 subscribers. Would you please fix that? Go down there, hit that button, please. Hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, and hit share, would you? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez may have or may not have inadvertently or purposely committed campaign finance fraud. Now, On its face, not a big deal, right? Who cares? I personally, I care when laws are broken, but there's some laws where it's just like, I guess that, you got to punish people because it's against the law. Dinesh D'Souza went to prison for the exact same thing. Campaign finance fraud. He was found out, and Barack Obama decided to put him in prison. Now you have to keep this in mind. This is where the left cannibalizes themselves. Democrats notoriously do not think 2 or 3 moves ahead. Barack Obama puts Dinesh D'Souza in prison. What that does is it sets what is called precedent. Precedent. The president set the precedent. Say that 3 times fast. The precedent is now when people commit campaign finance violations, they go to prison. They get a felony on their record. It wasn't like that before Dinesh D'Souza. If you committed, a violation in campaign finance, you got a little slap on the wrist. You got a warning letter from, the campaign finance committee, whatever. You know what I mean? Like you would get reprimanded, but not a felony. So, what does Barack Obama decide to do? Well, since I'm going to be the emperor of the world forever, I think I'll send Dinesh D'Souza to prison. It's like, okay, dum-dum, you have at most 2 terms at 4 years apiece. You're going to leave eventually. And when you do, it's probably going to be a Republican that's going to be sitting in that seat next. And now we have precedent. So if Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gets found out for campaign finance fraud, she could go to prison. And it would be the doing of the Democrats, just like when the Democrats, what was it, in 2013 when they changed the filibuster rule, and there were Democrats coming out saying, "Don't do this, Democrats, don't do this," because when we're out of power, and we try to use this same rule, it's not going to be there for us because we changed it. And they're like, "Oh no, we're always going to be in power." No, you're not, dummy. No, you're not. Barack Obama threw Dinesh D'Souza in prison for what is alleged that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did. This is already a lady who has made it clear, rules for thee and not for me. We need to tax all these rich people while she takes $10 million from Netflix and then goes and moves into a ritzy apartment where there's no poor people allowed. Right? Rules for thee, not for me. Just like Bernie Sanders. I have 3 homes, but rich people, old rich white men are the problem. You're an old rich white man, Bernie. Rules for thee and not for me. Well, guess what? This is where it all comes down. You went out, you people have spent all this time trying to attack conservative groups by using the IRS against the Tea Party. You threw Dinesh D'Souza and others. Right? He wasn't the only one. Dinesh D'Souza got put in prison by Barack Obama because Dinesh D'Souza did a media hit piece on the Obamas. And the only thing that the Obamas could do was they had to dig through the trash of his life and figure out like, oh, he committed a $20,000 campaign finance violation? And they threw him in prison for it. Well, now there's precedent, dummy. And Alexandria, if you get caught and prosecuted and you are found guilty, you're going to prison. Because now there's precedent for that. You people, you idiots. Don't you understand how this works? And it will spill off into other areas too. You've got Ilhan Omar. That the rumor is, right? The things that are being shared on the media, on social media, is that she may or may not have married her own brother to obtain U.S. citizenship. Now, if it turns out that she did that, and she's over there running her mouth about how evil Christian people are and how much she loves the Palestinian terrorists, you know what I mean? If this gets investigated and it turns out that she did that, she'll go to jail for a little while, and then when she's done with her jail, she'll be deported. These people can't help themselves. It's like, listen, you have, you belong to a religious group that has no problem marrying their own brothers and sisters. And it kind of looks like you married your own brother to get U.S. citizenship, which is a violation. It means if you were granted U.S. citizenship and then it turns out later that you lied to get that citizenship, you will have that citizenship revoked. And then you will be deported back to your nation that has a national IQ of 68, which is lower than literally the world's smartest monkey. Or chimpanzee, whichever Coco the chimp was. Chimp, I guess it's right there in the word. That's where you're going to go, Ilhan. And again, precedent. You wanted to push the issue. Now the issue's going to get pushed. And we'll all be watching from the cheap seats. Ha ha! And finally, let's talk about the socialist paradise that is Venezuela. And yes, I will be tying this back around to Bernie Sanders, whose literal initials are BS, and Octavio Ocasio Santa Minda Panta Maria, occasional cortex. That's what they want. That's what Bernie Sanders and AOC and the Democrats, that's what they want. Power. Now think about this for a second. I don't want to talk more about Venezuela and just what an absolute disaster that is. There's something even deeper than that you must observe, because this is something that is in the human condition. It's within us all to do, and we must be aware of it. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're into podcasts, there are links to this video clip that you're watching is just a clip from my daily podcast. And if you're into podcasts, if you would, go down there, click on whichever link suits you, or look it up for yourself on Spotify or whatever. It's everywhere. It's syndicated, so you can find it just about anywhere. And please click on that podcast link and hit subscribe. If you're just watching on YouTube, also, if you're here, please hit subscribe. See that down there? I have, right around 300 subscribers. Unsatisfactory people, please hit subscribe. And hit share and hit the bell icon and all that other stuff. Smash it. Now, Venezuela. One thing that doesn't exactly leap off of the pages, as you've seen in the last week or so, Venezuela decided to block human aid from coming into the country. There was a bridge that went into Venezuela, and Nicolas Maduro had his people go out and put tractor trailers out there to block people from coming across that bridge. And on top of that, they lit some of the aid on fire. And on top of that, the people that were trying to get to the Venezuelan people who are suffering and trying to get to the aid, no less than 2 of those people were shot and killed. You probably saw that. But one thing that perhaps maybe you didn't see was something even deeper, is that Nicolas Maduro called upon his citizens who work at the police department to fire upon and kill his own citizens. Now, this is something that has happened repeatedly throughout all of history, and we can see it. And the fact that we can see it throughout all of history means that the underlying problem is way down deep in all of our DNA. When people are told, listen, if you want to keep eating food, drinking clean water, having medicines for your children, then I need you to go out and fight and kill these other people. Because these are the people that are the reason why we're having such a hard time. We've seen it over and over again. If you want to go look at what the former Soviet Union did to their people, and what China did to their own people, right? What what the Cambodian people did to their own people, what the Cubans did to their own people, right? That, when you can see it all over the place, and that tells you, like, well, this is something that's in all of us. And we must be careful. The kind of person who would take orders from their dictator, Nicolas Maduro, and fire upon their brothers and sisters of Venezuela. This is what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants. This is what Bernie Sanders wants. And you know that because, well, what do they have in common with people like Stalin? Stalin lived in a beautiful mansion and was overweight. He never starved. He was rich. Castro, he was rich. His son is right now like a social media star, showing off how wealthy he is. Right? This is what these people, this is the common thread. Nicolas Maduro was on TV eating tapas, eating some tacos, man, in front of his starving people. You think Nicolas Maduro is having a hard time? No, he had Salt Bae cook him a meal while his people are starving. So what do these people all have in common? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just bought a posh apartment with the $10 million that she got from Netflix. Bernie Sanders has 3 homes. Now listen, I'm a big fan of capitalism. I'm registered to vote as a Republican. I served in the United States Marine Corps. Like, I'm all about capitalism, and yet I don't have 3 homes. Bernie Sanders is a socialist who loves the Soviet Union. He went to the Soviet Union like in their darker days and was like, oh, these people have got it all figured out, man. These people are legit. Bernie Sanders was on TV saying, breadlines are a good thing. Well, you know, people are hungry and you got breadlines, and that means they're eating. This is their end game. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Nicolas Maduro, Joseph Stalin, they can't wait until you need them to eat something as simple as a baked loaf of bread. They want that because that's the true sign of power, is when you're truly underneath their boot. Do you understand that? And when you look around and you see people in your own country that are willing to exterminate the lives of other people so that they can be found in right standing with their own ilk, that's what you need to be aware of in yourself and in your surroundings. Look, I've said this before. I had an uncle who was a sheriff, right? I'm a big fan of the police, not the band, but the occupation. Don't stand so close to me. I'm a big fan of cops, policemen, sheriffs, marshals, FBI agents, CIA agents. I'm a big fan. Secret Service, big fan. And I know that a large swath of those people are diehard American flag saluting patriots. But there is an element in every group. You're going to have weak links. We saw that we had a weak link in the CIA at the very, very tippy top. John Brennan, a communist, was running the CIA. That's not a conspiracy theory, by the way. Comey, right? McCabe, Stroke's girlfriend. These people, these are people who will destroy America for the sake of feeling like they're in right standing. And again, these people will never apologize. And you want to know why? They will never know that they're wrong. They'll never be able to see that they are evil. That when the breadlines come, right, in America, and let me just quote Donald Trump by saying, America will never be a socialist nation. It will never happen. But there's going to be some infighting. That's definitely coming, and there are people amongst us, possibly members in our own families, who will throw us under the bus and throw us into a position where we are that much closer to standing in breadlines. And why? Because they can't admit when they're wrong. You think Nicolas Maduro is sorry that those people died? Do you think the men who actually pulled the trigger on their fellow citizens, right? These are people that were little kids at one point, wanted to grow up and be a policeman, wanted to protect, their fellow citizens, and now they're firing upon their own fellow citizens. You want to know how it is that people become a Nazi? That's how it is. That's how people become Nazis. That's when you see socialists killing the members of their own civilization, members of their own community, people that they swore to protect. What are they doing it for? They're doing it for money and for food, for water, for medicines, for education. They're doing it for themselves. That's what we must beware of. And you have to see that in the rhetoric. It's already like the writing is on the wall. Like there's nothing else that needs to be exposed. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez already came out and said, we're in charge. You people, you little people, you sit in the cheap seats. And if you die, well, that's just because you were a bad person. You're a bad person. You're not a true socialist. You deserve to die. How dare you starve? How dare you starve when I'm such a good person and I'm trying to help everybody by becoming a socialist? Bernie Sanders goes on television and talks about like this socialist dream. Do you guys even know the history of this guy? Like he's a lifelong loser. And then he got into politics. And then he kept on losing. Only now there was more money involved and he bought himself 3 homes. Well, everybody needs to be a socialist but me. I need to be in charge of the socialists, and since I'm in charge of the socialists, I should get 3 houses. That just makes sense. I mean, if you're in charge, you should get extra. Right? And they don't hear themselves talking. Well, if you're in charge, you should get extra. If you're in charge, I should get $10 million from Netflix because I'm such a captivating and I'm just so iconic that, I mean, naturally Netflix should do a documentary about me and give me $10 million for it. And also, a whole bunch of members of the Obama administration are now working for Netflix. Don't look at that. Never mind that, folks. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see that was that Susan Rice is actually like one of the head people now at Netflix. And then Ocasio gets $10 million for what? Who the F is going to be watching that documentary? I was a bartender. And then I ran for Congress and I won somehow. Oh, that's real gripping. That's real gripping stuff. Here's $10 million. And she's now living in her beautiful apartment going, well, of course I should have this. I'm in charge. And if you're in charge, you should get extra. Now I have extra. No, I'm not going to share it with you. I have people in charge stuff to do with this money. What does that lead to? Venezuela and every single government that's ever tried it. Because what it does is it cripples the spirit. When you start preaching that socialism, like you're going to get stuff for free, you're not going to have to pay for anything. When you start preaching that noise, it appeals to the weakest, most disgusting parts of all of us. The need to be lazy, that need to have an enemy. And the enemy in this case is like people who work hard and do well in life. Oh, they're the enemy. That sniveling, sneering demon that says, you need to be more greedy. As Winston Churchill said, he said, socialism is the religion of the greedy and the weak. And that's what Ocasio-Cortez wants for you. It's what Bernie Sanders wants for you. It's what all those people, Elizabeth Warren, oh, I'm Native American. And they just keep letting her talk. And Alexandria and Bernie, BS Bernie, they just keep letting these people talk. And why? Because the demon that wants power never stops. It's always been around, and it most likely always will be until that great day. Oh, come, Lord Jesus. Till that great day when all this stuff is cast down. So you think about that when you look at Venezuela. Don't just see that socialism sucks and that Maduro's a bad guy. Keep in mind that the citizens fired upon their fellow citizens, and that's the thing you have to be aware of. If you have police members in your family, sit them down and talk with them, and just make them say it. Like, look, do you understand why it is that you are not to turn on your own citizens, even if your kids go hungry? That you can't take somebody else's life or take somebody else's property to preserve your own life? Do you understand that that's wrong to do that? Why is it wrong to do that? Well, why don't you read the Bible? Right? For those people, for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for Jussie Smollett, for Don Lemon, for Jim Acosta, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong to those people. Because there is no right and wrong for those people. Why would it be wrong for Jussie Smollett to watch two innocent people get convicted of a crime they had nothing to do with and go to prison? Why? Well, because there's no such thing as wrong. Why not throw people in prison? Why not throw people into a breadline? Why not fire upon your own citizens? This is what we need to be aware of. That's the show for today. Hey, listen, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Please hit subscribe, please hit share, and please send messages in on the website, archavocate.com. You can send me emails there. Website's probably going to be going down next month. We'll see. But please send me a message so I can get your email address, and then I can email you stuff if I open up a new website, if I change the name of the podcast, which is most likely going to happen. Or if if YouTube decides to chop down this channel and I have to start another one, I want to be able to email you. I promise I will never email you, advertisements from onit.com or anything like that, right? If I send you something, it's going to be from me for the purposes of letting you know where I'm at and what I'm doing. So that's it for today, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Don't be a socialist, you jerks. Bye-bye.